Alright, what up? Civil liberties, civil rights, Unit 5, Video 11, even though it says Unit 11. That's alright. So we're talking about the rights of the accused. Alright, so we have the first case here is Weeks versus the United States, and what this was, what it is that it established the exclusionary rule. So remember the exclusionary rule, something you absolutely want to know about, the idea that if a state obtains evidence illegally, that evidence may not be used against you in trial. They can still try you, but they have to use other evidence is the point. Mapp versus Ohio is a case that you want to know by name, Mapp versus Ohio, and it incorporated the exclusionary rule. So Mrs. Mapp was at home, and police said that they had a warrant. She takes their warrant, doesn't let them in. They didn't really have a warrant, they were lying. But they search her house anyway, so it's an illegal search without a warrant, and she gets arrested. She wins that case because the search is illegal, so they throw her conviction out. Another case, this is another landmark case that you need to know by name, and it is Gideon versus Wainwright. Another landmark, very important Supreme Court case. This is where, that's Gideon right there, a picture of him. He was a drifter, a homeless guy in the state of Florida. He got accused of breaking into a pool hall, stealing about $20 and some sodas, and he gets sentenced to 5 years in prison, even though there is basically no evidence at all against him, because they wouldn't give him an attorney. He couldn't afford one, obviously, being homeless. They wouldn't allow him to have an attorney representing himself. He didn't do a good job, so he appeals. The Supreme Court hears his case, and they incorporated the right to a public attorney. So even if you can't afford one, one will be provided for you by the state. That's part of your Miranda rights, and that is why. Speaking of your Miranda rights, you have the case Miranda versus Arizona, which determined that a person being arrested must be informed of their rights. So you have the right to an attorney, you have the right to be an attorney, among others, and so you just have to tell them. So cops have that responsibility. We also have a case here, Furman versus Georgia, and for a little while in the United States, we did not have a death penalty for 4 years. So this is the case that stopped the death penalty, but only temporarily, and the reason was because it was being inconsistently applied, meaning that it was being given to black people much more than white people. So if you had a case where it was a black defendant with a white victim, he was almost sure to get the death penalty, whereas if it was a white defendant with a black victim, they were almost sure to not get the death penalty. So the Supreme Court said that you had to do it, well, in the next case you see, in the state in Gregg versus Georgia, it allows the death penalty, so that's old Sparky, so welcome back, old Sparky. But states had to use an objective criteria, so it couldn't be so biased like it definitely was. And lastly, case Atkins versus Virginia, which banned use of the death penalty for mentally retarded persons. So mentally retarded, so lower IQ is what that's saying, cannot receive the death penalty. And this has been a Lamani production.